Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the annual HIA-LI annual meeting and legislative program. While you all coming into the room, we are going to show a short video to start the program. Ali?
The park is 11 square miles. It is the second largest industrial park in the United States of America, largest industrial park east of the Mississippi River.
55,000 employees, 1,300 companies, an economic output of probably about 13 billion.
We have 58% tradable industries coming out of that park. The national average is only 36%.
There's over 50,000 people that work in the industrial park, and we have tremendous exposure with customers that are looking for our services. As they're driving by, they notice the building, they see the trucks coming in and out.
Stony Brook University, Brookhaven National Lab, Cold Spring Harbor, the Feinstein Institute just bring us a wealth of information, both technically as well as just higher education.
What's the number one thing that every business owner in there needs, and that is talent. And so we've been working really hard to make sure that the businesses in the park have a pipeline to the talent coming out of the universities, and the universities have a direct pipeline into the jobs that are available in the park.
There's very talented mechanics, supervisors, and chemists who really help us drive the business, as well as facilities and the infrastructure, reliable electric, water, and the sewer system, which is critical to running this business.
The beauty of the Hop Park Industrial Park is it's built for industry, and so it has the infrastructure and the support that's needed. So the roads are wide and capable of letting trucks get in and out. There are support systems here between banks, shops, restaurants, whatever you would need to basically keep the people in your organization happy.
The park offers a wealth of resources to help your business grow and to answer some of the business challenges that owners face. Long Island, Suffolk County, best place to live, best place to raise a family, wonderful beaches, wonderful educational institutions.
There is no better place to work and live than on Long Island. And what better place to do it than in an innovation park that's producing companies where they're winning Academy Awards, Emmy Awards, where Nobel Prize laureates are doing research in collaboration with the major universities.
We have a place, the Long Island Innovation Park, that is just perfect for business. It's centrally located right in the middle of the island. It's got a cluster of amazing companies there and talent that is located there. Probably more innovation, human capital than anywhere else in the country.
Thank you, and welcome again. I'm Anthony Forgione, the Director of Business Development for the HIA-LI. Before we begin the program, I do want to recognize some people. I want to thank, first of all, our board members who have been so critical to our support before COVID and really stepped up during COVID. These people, many you will see this morning, others are logged in right now. I want to thank them all for all their support of our organization and making it what it is today. Now I want to thank our sponsors of today. Sponsorship is so critical to elevating our programs. So I want to thank each and every one. I want to thank the Suffolk County IDA, the town of Islip, H2M Architects and Engineers, Long Island Cares, Citron Cooperman, People's Alliance Federal Credit Union, PSEG Long Island, GSE Dynamics, Superior Washer, Investors Bank, National Grid, Campolo, Middleton and McCormick, LLP, Dime Bank, Farrell Fritz, Astoria, BCV Realty, Sandler Training, Mark Grossman Public Relations, Custom Computer Specialists, Sassarus and Company, Littler, and Sinewave. So once again, thank you to all our sponsors for making these programs, elevating these programs. Thank you. Now, in addition to our esteemed dignitaries, which are on the panel this morning, Steve Ballone, Suffolk County Executive, Hope Knight, Acting Commissioner, President, CEO of Empire State Development, that will be introduced to you, I do want to recognize some people that are signed on. So we have some dignitaries that are signed on right now. We have Jarrett Gandolfo, Assemblyman, New York State. We have Leslie Kennedy, legislator. We have Kevin McCaffrey, legislator. We have Steve Flotterin, legislator. We have Tom Lohman, town of Smithtown councilman. So we want to welcome all these dignitaries to the call this morning. And now I want to thank some partners that are signed into the call. First, we have Natalie Wright, Commissioner, Department of Economic Development and Planning for Suffolk County. We have Anthony Catapano, Executive Director of the Suffolk County IDA. We have Kelly Murphy, Deputy Executive Director for the Suffolk County IDA. We have Brad Hemingway. He is the Executive Director for the Foreign Trade Zone, the town of Islip. So I want to thank, and we have Mitch Pally, Long Island Builders Institute CEO, and last but not least, Patrick Boyle, Executive Director of Ignite Long Island. So I want to thank all the people who are signed in, all the dignitaries and all our special partners. And if we were in person right now, I would give them all a standing hand of ovation. So now it is my pleasure to start the program and turn it over to the HIA-LI Chair and President and CEO of H2M Architects and Engineers, Richard Human. Richard?
Great, thanks, Anthony, and great introduction. Happy New Year to all of you, and welcome to our annual meeting, and a special welcome to our dignitaries. We appreciate all the support and partnership that we get from all of you, and the things that we do at HIA-LI can't be achieved without your partnership. And I know we're going to be hearing from a number of you later, which is great. I also want to thank our board. Our board is an extremely engaged and sleeve rolling board. Great stuff. And although we've gone through a challenging 2021 and thinking that there was going to be brighter days ahead, I think we all feel as though we got knocked back a bit. But when you get knocked back a bit, you stand up, you dust yourself off, and you figure out ways to move forward. And our board has been tremendous in supporting our organization. Special thanks to Terry and her team. This past year as board chair and working closely with her and her team through these unprecedented times has showed me a lot, allowed me to grow and really understand how talented her and her team are. And there's no question why we are as successful as we are as an organization. And it really starts with her and her group. So thanks, Terry, and I'll get a chance to introduce her in a minute. I also want to really thank the business community at large. I know for myself, I've communicated with a lot of you during these past months, and I've been able to get a lot of support from you, and I hope that I've been able to provide some of my own support as we continue to navigate our way through the pandemic and figure out how to continue to work effectively and be successful as a business community. And our ability to continue to collaborate and innovate is what's going to continue to make our business community, not only in the Innovation Park, but on Long Island as a whole, cause our economy just to continue to thrive and move its way forward. So thank you and good luck to all of you in 2022. So with that, I am going to hand it off to our President and CEO, Terry Alisi Maselli.
Thanks so much, Rich, and good morning, everyone. Happy New Year to everybody. And let me start and just say, what a great day yesterday for Long Island with Amityville and Riverhead winning the $10 million for the Downtown Revitalization Initiative. Very exciting news for us. Hope everybody is staying healthy. That's the real important part, obviously, through all of this. And I have to say that I'm so proud that we've continued to pivot as an organization and continue to disseminate a lot of really important information to all of you. not only through the pandemic, but just in terms of business resources. So thank you again to all our dignitaries, both on the panel, those watching. We could not do what we do in business without all of you advocating on a daily basis, Thank you to, as you've heard before, our board members, our executive committee, by the way, who was with me every single step of the way through this pandemic and beyond, and our committee co-chairs who carry out all our initiatives, who make us really look very, very good. And I have to take to my staff who just constantly hit the floor running and just make all of this happen. And especially to all of you who are watching today in the Long Island business community. You know, it doesn't surprise us that on a daily basis, we all get up, we get dressed, we get to business, we run our businesses despite what is going on. So we need to give ourselves a very large round of applause for that, for really impacting the business community. We have accomplished so much in 2021. And I will say just very quickly from the HIA-LI standpoint, our Long Island Innovation Park at Hauppauge Task Force continues to make major strides. Thank you to Joe Campolo. Thank you to the task force, to his team, and our partnerships with Supervisor Wareheim, the town of Smithtown, obviously the town of Islip, Supervisor Angie Carpenter, the Suffolk IDA, who is watching on the back end, and our valued partners there, as well as Suffolk County and Steve Ballone, who has really, again, been with us every step of the way. This project has been huge, and we are going to continue to make strides in the future, and you'll hear a lot more about what's going on in the park in 2022. We've also partnered with the town of Islip, and again, Angie Carpenter, to really help the Long Island MacArthur Airport. And Joe Campolo and his team has also helped us conduct a survey. We got 504 responses from all of you in the business community, and you've told us that if the airport had more nonstop flights, that revenue could increase to over 1 billion in added revenue. So we're very excited about doing some more work there. We also have our small business task force that continues to, on a daily basis, work on very progressive programs for small business. That's really important as we move forward with this. So thank you to Rita DiStefano and her task force and her team, who again, watching on the back end. And you'll see a lot more of what's going on there in 2022. So we've spent a lot of time talking to all of you as business owners and people in business about what you need right now. And the important piece in that is that you've told us two things. Number one, we are looking at ways to help you better connect to business virtually in this new normal. So we're coming out with an online marketplace that will allow you to do that. You'll hear more about that. The second thing is we are all struggling with filling our talent pool. So we're committed here at the HIA to continue to work with the Suffolk County Department of Labor and our friend Rosalie Drago, and again, Suffolk County, to disseminate job fairs. We're working on a job portal, some really exciting things on this end. We will be hybrid beginning in February. We'll go back to our live events, but also you'll have the opportunity to watch them from the comfort of your office or your homes. And we will continue our industry series that all of you have said, wow, we need to understand industries and what they're going through. So a lot coming down the pike. We are optimistic about 2022. We are grateful for what we've really been through. I know that sounds odd, but through darkness comes magnificence, and we've seen that. So I urge you all to stay involved, to stay engaged, and I'm going to turn it over right now to Bob Corte, who is going to say Happy New Year again. I know it. We're excited. He's our treasurer, and he will give our treasurer's report. So Bob, and before I do that, I do want to acknowledge, I just got a note that Legislator Fleming has joined us, and we want to thank her, for joining us as well. So Bob, you're going to take it away?
Yes, thank you, Terry. Good morning, everyone. And Happy New Year. I think I can say that somebody told me through at least January 15th. So Happy New Year. Let's hope that 2022 is certainly better than the last couple of years. Has certainly started out as a challenge, but we're up to these challenges. I'm pleased to give the treasurer's report this morning. As a result of the pandemic, the HIA-LI, like many associations and business organizations across the region and state, we've realized a significant decrease in revenues, and that's no surprise. That happened in 20 and 21 as well. As with most associations, the HIA-LI ceased having face-to-face meetings and events. As a result, the normal steady sources of revenue from advertising, sponsorships, and fundraising became major challenges. Despite all of this, through the tireless efforts of Terry, her staff, and the board, we were ultimately able to pivot quickly, keep the doors open, and maintain a steady revenue stream, and with very limited resources, continue to be there for our members and the Long Island business community. We can all agree that organizations like the HIA-LI boost and nurture local economic development. We keep Long Island's economy churning, and businesses need our help now more than ever. And I'm so proud of our organization that even though Terry, you had to cut down on your staff, limited people coming into the office, we were still able to be there for our members and the Long Island business community. So heading into 2022, it's not starting out wonderful. We are cautiously optimistic and look forward to continuing to be the resource for the Long Island business community for the future. So let's everybody be safe, and let's hope that 2022 is much better. When we have had face-to-face events, people have certainly enjoyed it, and hopefully we get back to a more normal, and we don't say that this is the new norm, but that we get back to a more normal setting like we've seen in 2019 and prior. So that's the treasurer's report. Now let's hear from the HIA-LI Secretary, Kevin O'Connor. Thank you.
Thank you. Happy New Year. So let's carry the trend on. I appreciate the opportunity to speak today. And I just, as a forum here, I just can't thank Terry enough for what you've done and your staff to really navigate, as Bob has described, 2021 and as we head into 2022. So congratulations to you and your team to accomplish what you did with limited resources and the way you have pivoted. And I know I speak for the rest of the board and appreciate your leadership as part of this process. So thank you. I stand between you and the real program here. So as the secretary, I'm going to announce who's been reelected as the executive committee, who's been elected as board members, and welcome to new board members of the organization. So without further ado, we've decided to keep the executive committee in place that's really led us and really been guided by Terry in this process. So continuing next year, our chairperson will be Rich Human. First vice chair will be Karen Allen from People's Alliance. Second vice chair will be Anthony Mineta from Cedar Communities. Bob will stay on as treasurer. I think you'll be treasurer the rest of your life, Bob. I think that's how that's going to work. And I will continue on as secretary. The script says applause. We will not do that. And I will not ask everybody to stand up because I don't think we want to see the gym shorts. So, again, I appreciate working with everybody on this group. Board members, every ballot was sent to all of the HIA members, and they re-voted and re-elected board members. Again, re-elected board members this year are Joe Campolo, Rita DiStefano from Portnoy Messenger Pearl Associates, Rich Isaac from Sandler Training, Anthony Mineta, myself, and Michael Volz from PSEGLI. Again, congratulations to the continuing board members, and always the exciting part to welcome new board members this year. And I think we have a great group of people joining the team. And I don't know if they're on the call, and maybe we'll see them later. Paul Pachter he's the CEO of LI Cares. Ed Bonihue, who's the new president of Suffolk Community College, and Dominic Pernice, he's the chief operating officer of Catholic Health Services at St. Catherine Siena Hospital. So I welcome them all. Look forward to working with them on the board as we continue to navigate what we hope 2022 will change, and we're not talking about this in 2023. So without further ado, I'm going to be introducing Joe Campolo, who will lead us in the discussion this morning. So thank you, Joe. Happy New Year.
Thanks, Kevin. And I want to introduce and welcome and thank our esteemed panelists.
this morning. So we have Assemblyman Mike Fitzpatrick, Senator Mario Matera, Supervisor Ed Wareheim, and Supervisor Angie Carpenter. I'm not going to wish everybody a happy new year because I'm a contrarian by nature. It's just the way that I roll. Somebody pointed out that we are actually in the third calendar year of COVID right now. So it started in 20, it was all of 21, and here we are in 22, which is really, really remarkable. But this group that's on the screen today with us is a group of business and elected officials and professionals that have worked arm in arm, lockstep together to really help push Long Island through and where we are today. And from my vantage point, I couldn't be more proud to be sitting here today with these folks. Two special introductions that I want to make. We're going to give some welcoming remarks. Representing Governor Kathy Hochul, and it's so interesting because we've had her here so many times as Lieutenant Governor, and now she's Governor Kathy Hochul. It's kind of interesting and fun. But representing Governor Kathy Hochul is Hope Knight. And Hope was named Acting Commissioner and President and CEO designate of Empire State Development by the Governor and in October 2021. Prior to that appointment, Hope served as President and CEO of Greater Jamaica Development Corporation, one of the nation's first community development corporations. And Hope, we want to welcome you on behalf of the Governor, and if you'd like to make some remarks, that would be great.
Thank you, Joe, for that kind introduction, and good morning, everyone. On behalf of Governor Kathy Hochul, thank you all for the invitation to join you today. This virtual format is very efficient, but I look forward to an opportunity when I can join you in person. I want to thank Rich and Terry for having me here today and for all that they do for Long Island and the state of New York. I've been at ESD now for about 2 months, and while I knew a lot about the agency before I arrived, as I've traveled around the state these last few weeks, I'm amazed at the exciting transformational projects in which ESD plays a role. Having met with leaders spanning sectors that include business, education, and government, there's a shared interest in ensuring New York's economic growth is sustainable, community-led, and inclusive. And our priority must be on creating high-quality jobs. This is central to the work of ESD. And that's why I'm honored to have been nominated by Governor Hochul to pursue this mission. So much of what we do at ESD is guided by the regional council process, which reflects local priorities. On Long Island, we're proud to work with you to support projects of all sizes, to improve communities and grow vital regional industries. I'm thrilled Governor Hochul has nominated Long Island's own Kevin Law to serve as chair of ESD's board of directors. He will definitely make sure that Long Island has a seat at the table. Since the start of the Regional Council Initiative, more than $767 million has been awarded to nearly 1,000 projects across Long Island. ESD has awarded nearly $40 million in projects within the Hopper Industrial Park alone. We've helped Scigen Pharmaceuticals grow its workforce from 40 to nearly 300, and Contract PharmaCal has expanded and added another 250 jobs. These projects include capital investments too. In 2020, the Long Island Regional Council recognized the importance of GSE Dynamics, part of the region's aerospace manufacturing industry, and supported the company with a grant to buy new equipment and machinery. These public-private partnerships are vital to the state and local economies. Working together, we can continue to create high-quality jobs that generate sustainable economic growth. When companies invest in their workforce, they promote community revitalization. All of this helps to build a successful and sustainable ecosystem for positive growth. Last week, Governor Hochul delivered her first State of the State address. In it, she laid out a bold economic development agenda. Central to her vision is reimagining workforce development in New York State. Businesses need skilled and trained workers, even at a time when unemployment remains far too high. We will work to close that gap and ensure that New Yorkers have the skills they need to grow existing businesses and attract new businesses to invest here. Under Governor Hochul's leadership, the state will overhaul its approach to workforce development. We will ensure policies and programs reflect the needs of local communities. The needs of Long Island are different from the needs of those in the Capital Region, which are different from those in the Finger Lakes. By acknowledging those differences and understanding what businesses need at that local level, we can better prepare New Yorkers for high demand jobs by targeting what is taught in high schools, trade schools, colleges, including SUNY. This effort will be driven by ESD with the support of the regional councils. The governor has also proposed tax relief for small businesses and the middle class. Under her plan, nearly 200,000 small businesses across the state would receive $100 million in tax relief by increasing a tax return adjustment to reduce gross business income. Governor Hochul has also proposed relief for more than 6 million middle-class New Yorkers. 4 years ago, the state began phasing in a middle-class tax cut, which wouldn't be fully implemented until 2025. The governor plans to accelerate this tax cut so that families can start receiving the full benefit in 2023, 2 years earlier than scheduled. The governor has also been aggressive on climate change, introducing programs and initiatives aimed at reducing the state's carbon footprint. This includes a $500 million investment in offshore wind. Under this proposal, New York State will support offshore wind manufacturing and supply chain infrastructure, which will create thousands of good-paying green jobs, deliver billions in economic impact, and generate enough energy to power millions of homes. This will ensure New York becomes a supply chain hub with the strongest offshore wind energy market along the Eastern Seaboard. And our efforts are being recognized and further supported by the federal government. Earlier this week, the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management announced plans for an offshore wind auction for nearly 500,000 acres in the New York Bight, which stretches from Cape May in New Jersey to Montauk Point. This could have the potential to provide enough offshore wind energy to power nearly 2 million homes. Additionally, the state plans to begin construction on its first offshore wind project, the South Fork Wind Farm, this year. All told, this presents a tremendous opportunity for Long Island manufacturers and businesses to support the supply chain. The team at ESD Regional Office is always available to answer questions, so please feel free to reach out and engage them. These are just some of the key priorities that Governor Hochul laid out in her State of the State. As we start a new year, I'm optimistic about the future of the state and the possibilities. There is uncertainty, but there's also opportunity. Despite these remarkable challenges of the past 22 months, we are resilient. We have the chance to build our economy back stronger, more inclusive, and more resilient than ever. And we do this in partnership with our local stakeholders, like the members of this esteemed association. So again, on behalf of Governor Hochul, thank you for the invitation to join today's event. I wish you all the best and look forward to working together with you in the future. Thank you.
Thanks, Hope. Appreciate your service, and please send the governor our regards from farm country here in Long Island. We appreciate that. And our next esteemed speaker that's going to give us some remarks is a man who does not need any introduction, but I will give him one. He is our county executive. He is the 8th county executive in county history. He's been our county executive since 2012. In addition to being extremely good-looking, Steve and I share 2 other characteristics. We both went to Fordham Law, and we're both United States veterans, which is something I know we're both super, super proud of. And Steve, I realized I'm a little sad this morning because this is the last time we're going to have you as county executive at our annual meeting because of term limits. But I know that we'll be seeing you on the other side of that. But ladies and gentlemen, I do want to introduce our very, very good friend to HIA-LI and my friend, County Executive Steve Bellone.
Joe, thank you very much. And I hate to disappoint some people, but I will be here for 2 years. So unless you don't invite me, I will be back next year. And it is great to see you, my friend. By the way, I will say Happy New Year. And don't worry, Kevin said it twice at the beginning of his comments and at the end. So he's got you covered, Joe. It is good to be with you. I thank you. Rich, thank you very much for having me here once again. And to Terry, thank you. It is always a pleasure to be with you. And to everybody at HIA, thank you very much for the opportunity to be with you once again. I do want to acknowledge and thank the new Empire State Development Director, Hope Knight. As Terry mentioned, we had a great announcement yesterday. 2 communities in Suffolk County joining now the first successful DRI recipient in Islip, in Central Islip, and Supervisor Carpenter under her leadership. Joining her now are Amityville and Riverhead. That was a great announcement, very exciting for all of us. Great day for Suffolk County and Long Island, frankly, and I want to congratulate them and also thank Governor Hochul for her support of our economic development efforts here and of these communities, and look forward to meeting our new Empire State Development Director in person. And of course, on the call yesterday, announcing the awards to Amityville and Riverhead was the incoming, he's been nominated, but obviously a longtime friend to all of us, Kevin Law, who will be coming in as the Empire State Development Chair, which I think is very good news for all of us on Long Island. I'm going to give a quick COVID update, if that's good with you, Joe, and then a few other comments. You know, I think it is absolutely right to say that we were all hopeful, certainly a year ago, as we were ending the second wave of this virus, that with vaccinations here, and you remember a year ago, people were scrambling to get vaccine appointments. That's where we were at this time a year ago. And we had just overcome the peak of the virus and were on the way down. This Omicron wave has now surpassed that second wave of the virus, and it's the largest, most impactful since the very beginning of the pandemic. So to put it in perspective, on Christmas, we had about 400 people in the hospitals. By New Year's Day, that number had jumped to over 700 in the hospitals, to give a sense of how quickly this virus has moved. We're well over 1,000 now in our hospitals. The peak of the second wave a year ago was about 860 in the hospitals. So we have surpassed that. Unfortunately, hospitalizations ultimately lead to deaths. Between Christmas and New Year's, we saw 55 people die from the virus. We had been at a point where we were seeing a death every few days from COVID. We're now back at the point where we have double-digit deaths from COVID every day. The good news is it does appear we are peaking, that we are hitting that peak at the same time that we did last year during the second wave. So that is good. My hope is, and our belief is, that because the virus in this Omicron wave rose so quickly, that it will come down on the other side just as quickly. So we are very hopeful that will be the case. In the meantime, we have been working to address the virus in a multitude of ways, continuing to do that. But we went back to testing, community testing. We've been doing testing throughout to help keep schools open, for first responders, for municipal employees, to help keep our governments functioning at the highest level possible. But we had not been doing community testing for a long time. There's testing throughout the system now. But because of this wave, the demand was so enormous that we did an emergency procurement here, opened up testing sites, worked with Supervisor Carpenter, other partners here in Suffolk, and we were able to open up some community-based testing sites. They were overwhelmed initially, but that has leveled off significantly, and the demand has come down, which also is another good sign, I think, of where we are with the virus. This is, as Joe said, the third calendar year that we are dealing with this pandemic. It is the third school year in which we are dealing with the pandemic, and this has certainly had a great impact on our schools. We are continuing to vaccinate people every day. I urge people to get a booster shot. The evidence, the data is clear on that now. The booster shot is necessary to have the greatest amount of protection from the virus. We are running vaccine clinics every day. People can go to suffolkny.gov/vaccine to find out where you can get a vaccine through the county, or you can certainly do it in a number of other places, pharmacies, and through your healthcare provider. But I urge you to get the booster shot. We have over 90% of the people in the county, adults, I should say, vaccinated. About close to 80%, even when you include people, kids who aren't eligible for the vaccine. Overall, close to 80%, but boosted, it's about 30%. So we have a long way to go to get people fully protected from the virus. But I'm very optimistic that this will be the year that we do fully get our arms around this virus, that we tackle it and get it behind us. And I think, as Bob said, to a back to normal, not just a new normal, but back to normal. That is our objective here. So let me make a few comments. First of all, it's an honor to be here with my colleagues, Senator Matera and Assemblyman Fitzpatrick, and of course, Supervisors Wareheim and Carpenter. I'm partial to supervisors because I was a supervisor for 10 years. No offense to our legislators here, but it is great to be with all of you. And we are looking to the future, as we always do, and it is both a privilege and an honor to work with the HIA for a couple of reasons. Number one, the importance of this innovation park to our economy, to the region. It's simply beyond, you cannot exaggerate its importance. And the thing for me as county executive that is such a pleasure to work with the HIA is that this organization is doing the things that are necessary to look to the future and to grow. And we're in a great position for a couple of reasons, the Innovation Park, for a couple of reasons. Number one, the HIA, and I think the people on this call who are business leaders throughout the Innovation Park and beyond, who have participated in these calls and are involved with the organization, understand that the HIA is governed extraordinarily effectively. The governance of it is amazing. And quite frankly, it's what we've been working to do at the county, is to raise the governance level of the county to match up with organizations like the HIA and others, meaning instituting a series of reforms that make this government more effective, more nimble, more innovative than it has been. That is critical for the future of our region. So we're doing things that aren't terribly exciting to people. I find them interesting, but I'm different. But we're doing human resources reform and procurement reform and payroll reform and instituting 311 and continuous improvement reforms. all of those things are intended to raise the governance level. And the great news for us as a partner with the HIA is this organization has a great governance structure and is doing amazing things with that. Second thing that gives me great optimism with the Innovation Park and our future here on Long Island is you're using that structure to implement a broad-based vision for the future. And then within that framework, you're instituting and implementing the investments necessary to make it a reality. And again, we've been proud to partner with you through the IDA, through the county, in various ways to invest in infrastructure, to invest in the kind of really exceptional planning that you have done. And we look forward to continuing to do that. So beyond what you can do with the HIA yourself and the Innovation Park, because I really do believe you're doing all the things necessary and you're doing the things the right way, and we'll be here as a county, and I know certainly my colleagues, I think I could speak for them, we will be here to continue to support and partner with you on those efforts. So the biggest thing that we can do beyond that to support the Innovation Park and the growth of our economy on Long Island is, number one, raise the governance level here in the county, which is our regional level of government, of course. And I know my colleagues are working to do the same thing as well. But it's also importantly, and this is what I'll close on talking about, is the ability of us as a region to work together, to put aside politics, to come together across governmental lines and work together as a region to do big things. The kind of things that individual municipalities, county can't do on their own, but the kind of things that are necessary for any big region, and we're one of the biggest regions in the country, the kind of things that are necessary for any big region to be successful and to reach its economic potential. And these are the major issues that we deal with: housing and transportation, infrastructure, all of those things. And it requires people working together. And I would say this: we're the home of Robert Moses. There are no more Robert Moses. There never will be again here. What we can have are Angie Carpenters and Mario Materas and Ed Werheims and Mike Fitzpatrick's working together across party lines. Of course, actually, they're all in the same party. I'm in the other party, but there's fewer of us since the last election on Long Island. But all of us working together across party lines to do those big things. Without that willingness to work together, those big things can't happen. And this region can never then reach its full economic potential. And I've always been the biggest booster for Long Island in that I believe our economic potential, based on the extraordinary assets we have and the natural resources we have and the human talent that we have, is virtually limitless. So it really is governance level and willingness to work together. The good news, you have people on this call who I think are exactly that. Angie Carpenter is doing extraordinary things at MacArthur Airport. We work to support those efforts. And that's really what the role the county should be playing, supporting the efforts. When there's great planning, there's great thinking happening at the local level, the county should be supporting those efforts. This is not a competition. We're all Long Islanders and we're all in this together. And she's been doing extraordinary things there. And we recently, both the county legislature and the town of Islip approved an agreement to work together to try to advance a project of extraordinary significance for this region, Ronkonkoma South, where both the region's airport, MacArthur Airport, and the county's biggest or busiest train station, where double track is, where third track is closer to opening, and where east side, leading to east side access off of that main line is about to open relatively soon. So that is extraordinarily important. I want to thank Supervisor Carpenter for that. But we are working together with Supervisor Werheim on Senator Matera and Assemblyman Fitzpatrick on a number of initiatives in the town of Smithtown. Again, the county being in a position of supporting extraordinary efforts at the local level. Like, the county should never be in the position, and I've said this many, many times, of going into communities and saying, this is what you should be doing, this is what you need to be doing. But we should be doing everything we can to support great planning, great visioning, great ideas, infrastructure in the places and in the communities that are thinking about things that not only benefit, of course, the local community, but are also some of the bigger things that are necessary for all of our communities to be successful. So we're working on a number of infrastructure initiatives and other efforts to support what's happening, the great things that are happening in the town of Smithtown. And so for all of those reasons, I'm extraordinarily optimistic. And by the way, those efforts, again, beyond what the HIA is already doing, that you can do, are the most important things that we can do to support growth at Innovation Park and growth all of smart growth, sustainable growth overall for our entire region. So my thanks to Terry, to you, to Rich, Joe, thank you, and to all the members of the board for the really extraordinary work that you're doing.
Great. Thanks, Stephen. I know we opened with some levity, but really the county has done a tremendous job in response to COVID. I think I had shot you a text when I was getting my vaccine there. Really, really great yeoman's work. I am happy that you will be joining us for another annual meeting next year. That's wonderful. Hopefully it'll be live, honestly, and hopefully,
yes.
Hopefully we won't be talking about COVID. But in the meantime, really keep up the yeoman's work there at the county. We really appreciate it. We appreciate your friendship with HIA-LI as well. And thanks for everything, Steve. Really.
Thank you, Joe. My best to everybody. Thank you.
Yep. So we'll turn to our other panel members. And it's interesting because I think three of them were in government before COVID, and Mario, I think you're a COVID elect, right? I mean, I think you came in the thick of it. And what I want to start with, and Mike, I'll start with you, and we'll go around the horn. Is, from the business community, right? We're tired. We're tired. We're exhausted. We are wiped out with all of this. And I'm curious from your specific vantage point in government, what your perspective is about COVID and where we are and where we're going. So I want, briefly, if everyone could touch on that, because I think it's on everyone's mind.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you, Joe, Terry. Glad to be with everybody. I'm sure, like all of you, I'm tired of all of this COVID stuff. I want to get back to normal. I think we can and should get back to what we all recall was normal. I don't subscribe to this new normal thing. I think with COVID, those of us in government need to be on top of this, and I'm sure many of you are as well. So we're getting, in the beginning when Governor Cuomo, I recall being in the briefing with then Commissioner Dr. Zucker and getting briefed on how serious this was. And I remember Dr. Zucker saying point blank, he said, thousands of people are going to die from this. And it just knocked us all back on our heels. And, your first response was really, absolutely. And sure enough, that is what happened. This was a novel virus. It came from China. We now know it didn't come from a bat. It came from China's only weapons laboratory. Did it escape on its own by accident? We don't know. Maybe we'll never know. But we do know that China did not handle this well. They locked down their own country, but they let people travel to the rest of the world because they wanted to do damage to the world economy and to the United States in particular. I think that's a fact. Anybody who argues against that, I think, is foolish. Now going forward, we know a lot more today than we did 2 years ago. I thought Governor Cuomo did a very interesting job and enjoyed being in control. You need a general to go into a battle against this enemy, and certainly your governor is the natural leader going into that battle, and his briefings I thought were well received. Nobody knew what was happening. We didn't know how bad this was or how bad it was going to get. That being said, now we know a heck of a lot more. But we also have discovered that I am not a fan of Dr. Fauci. I think I'm not a Fauci groupie like a lot of people are. I think he has lied to the American people, and I don't trust him, and I don't trust the CDC much either. Now, like many of you, you watch different channels for different sources of news. Those of us in the business, we tend to be news junkies. We follow both sides. There is debate in the scientific community about how we should proceed. So I will tell you, I fall into the category that we need to take care of our most vulnerable, which happen to be the elderly and those with comorbidities. I don't believe our children should be, frankly, vaxxed. And I don't believe they should be masked at young ages. I have 3 grandchildren, one of which two go to school, and I'm not happy that they're in masks. I don't think it's good for their health, good for their development. But I have a neighbor who is unvaxxed and just caught COVID, and he's out doing his chores around the house. Why? Because he's healthy and he's young. So we need to focus on those who are most vulnerable, get them vaxxed, get them boosted. Those who want to be vaxxed and boosted, God bless them, let's do it. I'm triple jabbed. But those who are concerned, especially women of childbearing age who have concerns about possible long-term effects of this and possible long-term effects on children. There was a story last night with an MIT researcher who was expressing very real concerns about possible long-term effects on children in the neurological area with regard to this vaccination. This has parents very concerned. So I think we need to be careful as we go forward with this. But people want to be free. They want to be able to go to work, play, enjoy their lives, take the necessary precautions, but they also want their freedoms. And I think that has to be respected too.
Great. Thank you, Mike. Thank you for your honest candor there. Senator Mario, always full of optimism, Mario. So let's hear something.
I just want to thank HIA, Terry, Rich, Joe, everybody on. Thanks for the kind words from our county executive. I actually spoke to him last night. That's what tells you about a county executive when he calls you up at 9:30 at night. And, I appreciate all the work he's done, especially caring about our Clean Water Act and caring about our sewers. But let's talk about this topic, which is serious. And it's serious to me because, as a labor leader and people losing their jobs, all of our essential workers, our nurses, our food preps, everybody that's been working in the hospitals are heroes to zeros. It was very upsetting to me. I was on the front lines at rallies for all these healthcare workers from 10 to 20, 30, 40 years losing their jobs. I'm begging the governor to look at the numbers of the people that lost their jobs, that we're going to get out-of-state workers, get people from foreign countries to take these jobs away. This is me being a labor leader. I'm very disgusted about it. I want to get these people back to work. You know what? We need normalcy. I spoke earlier to say that, we had the Spanish flu. The Spanish flu, the third wave, we didn't have vaccines back then, but the third wave, people said, you know what? We need to get back to normalcy. We need to get back to work. The worst thing that's happening right now is people working from home. I want people to get back into the workplace. I want people to, be careful, be careful of everything that they do, with the ways of life. I know things have changed, but we need to make sure we get people back to work, and especially those healthcare workers that lost their jobs. To go sit here and say that this isn't, this vaccine, this COVID isn't real. Yes, we know it's real. A lot of people passed away on us, which is very, very sad. But again, government fear is just terrible. I speak to my friends in different states, Tennessee, Florida, You know, I was talking earlier, watching my friends, they're down at the Mecum car auction. The place is packed, going actually work, you know, going out, enjoying themselves. And you know what? I really, really feel, you know, that we as government, we need to be the ones that have the voice. Right now, you have the Commissioner of Health is doing the mandating. Do I feel that that's government control? I really feel as us as legislators, we need to have a voice finally, what's been going on with everything. So, you know, me being a newly elected official, you know, a lot different than me being a business agent with the Plumbers Union. You know, being on boards was very interesting, you know, Suffolk County Water Authority, you know, and regular boards around towns and, you know, with Catholic Health Services. This has been an experience for me. You know, going up to Albany and being educated. Everybody that's on the panel, and I want to say, you know, it's great to see my supervisor, Ed Wareheim. We have many discussions. I mean, I consider him a friend and I consider him my supervisor at Smithtown. Angie Carpenter, we know each other for a lot of years. I appreciate Angie very much for her visions, for what she has done. Mike Fitzpatrick, he's, you know what, again, we have a partnership. And I'm going to echo what Mike has said. You know, this government control isn't the way for our lives. We need to get back to normalcy. And the only way we're going to get back to normalcy is let us do our jobs as legislators. That's what's not happening. And I'm hoping that we can change that in a lot of ways. But again, the fear factor, seeing all these lines around the buildings with people getting tests. Right now, we have 1,000 test kits that we just put out a blast that from the state. We received 1,000. There's 200 kids. We got 2,000 tests. Well, 1,000 test kits, and we're going to be giving them out. Our seniors, I can't wait till they can get back to go to, you know, when they were at, you know, going to the malls and going for breakfast and going for, you know, their lunches and going out again. You know, to get that fear factor out of the way. I'm going to say it again for the third time. That's what frightens me. So I really, again, was it an interesting year, helping people get vaccinated, calling up the VA hospitals, which did a great job at Northport, that helped out our office. But my constituents in the 2nd District, they're done. They want to go back. They want to go back to life. They want to have fun. And you know what? I want to see this year, 22, that we're gonna do this. So that's my focus on it. Let legislators do their job. The Commissioner of Health, yes, back in 1953 and 2014, that the Commissioner of Health had the authority to mandate. Again, that was with Ebola. Now we have the situation with us as legislators again to do our job. So that's what I'm hoping that can happen. And I just want to thank the HIA. Thank you for, you know, hosting this and for inviting me to be on the panel. Thank you.
Thanks, Mario. We appreciate your passion as always. And for all of our viewers, just so everybody knows, we do invite, you know, we do invite representatives from all levels and from all parties. The folks that are here today are the ones who graciously gave us their time. We don't hand select different people or different parties. I just want everybody to understand that it's a bipartisan invite, and these are the folks that responded. So we appreciate their perspectives. I want to turn to the towns now, because I think, you know, the towns have had significant unique challenges. And I'll start with Supervisor Wareheim, and I just want to point out that in addition to his illustrious government career, Ed is a Vietnam vet, a decorated Vietnam vet, and we do appreciate your service as well, Ed. But tell us, as somebody who's done this for a year or two, like, where are we with the challenges and where are we going?
Well, Joe, good morning. And Terry and Rich, thank you, and thank the HIA for having us. It's a pleasure to join you this morning and join all my colleagues in government. As far as COVID goes, I think I'll just speak at a local level because it is a little bit different. First and foremost, I think we know how serious this is. There have been many, many challenges in government as far as keeping our workforce intact. We on the local level provide essential services to our residents. That's where their services come from. So we had some extreme challenges. We did fight through them. We had the first year of the pandemic. 50% of our workforce at home, alternate weeks. It seemed to work. We were able to continue to provide the essential services that residents need. Last week, we had 67 employees out with this Omicron variant that we're going through now. Good news is that seems this week, end of this week, that has dropped down. So we're seeing some improvement there. What I'd like to speak to is one of the ways that on a local level, our government officials contended with this virus was the outstanding coordination and communication between supervisors. I know Supervisor Carpenter will speak to this. This was done through the Suffolk County Supervisor Association, and we spoke about policies, PPEs, everything that we would need at a local level. We stayed in constant contact and still do, including after hours. And I think that was an enormous advantage to local government getting through this pandemic. We all shared our thoughts on how we were going to get through this, what we were doing. And it really did work. The communication amongst supervisors at the local level was extremely important. And I think it helped us get through the pandemic better than we would have if there were no communication. I will say on a local level, another issue that we took up was we knew immediately about protecting our workforce, but also the business community, which we know, and that's why we're here today, how vital it was. And we took some enormous steps and are still doing this as far as working with the county and our administrators in building and planning to provide avenues for businesses to stay solvent and stay in business. We had the 3-day turnaround outdoor dining permit, no fee, 1 page. Many businesses took advantage of that. Another avenue we took, we had our audiovisual staff go out to every business who wanted to and produce a 15-minute video free of charge to go on all our social media platforms, as well as government TV, to describe exactly that their business was open, how they were operating, what protocols they were taking to keep safe. And we got an enormous reaction from the business community on the success of that. So as we go forward, we will remain optimistic. We will continue to work diligently with our business districts to make sure that they continue to be successful. They really are not out of the woods yet. I know sometimes you may not hear it on the news broadcast and the media, but businesses are still hurting. And I believe our job on a local level here is to make sure that all the businesses in our business community continue to thrive and get through this epidemic. So that's how we are working together to get through this pandemic and hopefully shortly down the road back to normal.
Yeah, thanks, Ed. I mean, we've worked closely through this, and you and the town board have done such a tremendous job in Smithtown leading through this, and all of Long Island is thankful for that type of leadership that you and your town board have shown. And speaking of leadership, we have Supervisor Angie Carpenter, and Angie and I have gotten to work together a bit and know each other a little bit better this year. And I can tell you folks, she's no joke. She's no nonsense. She's all about business for the town of Islip. COVID has not slowed her down one bit, for sure. And she's been on a tear. And so Angie, I want to welcome you. And thank you for your leadership and hear your perspective of the challenges that COVID has been giving you. You're muted, Angie. You're muted.
Thank you to everyone involved, Joe and Terry and everyone. And I'll put a little twist on the Happy New Year. Wish that it's a happy, healthy New Year. For all of us going forward. COVID certainly was a challenge, and we've heard it from all of the different perspectives. I just want to thank the county executive for his kind remarks. It's very nice to have a county executive who is the ultimate cheerleader for the region. I felt that all that Steve was missing was a pair of pom-poms, and I'm going to send him some. But, all joking aside, it's important. It's important to communicate. and be positive. And to Ed's point about communication, certainly it wasn't lacking through the entire time. We were having daily calls in the height of COVID with the county executive and the county's health commissioner. We had weekly calls with the state, with the governor's office. So certainly that communication was key. And I know that Rich Schaefer, who chairs our Supervisors Association, will really appreciate Ed's kind words. You know, we plowed through it. We had no choice. You know, I was here every single day, and during that 50% mandate of reduction of workforce, we worked through it, and it was a challenge. You know, there's no way to fill a pothole from home. You know, those kinds of things still had to be done. We're experiencing a little bit of absentee rate with COVID, with people having to quarantine, et cetera. But we are able to plow forward and do what we need to do. We had a snowstorm, you know, 7 inches of snow, and we got it done. We received incredible compliments, and to our teams out there that push that snow off the road, I can't thank them enough. We're looking at this very pragmatically. I was on a call yesterday with, I was invited to participate with an initiative through Bloomberg Harvard. I know the county executive's rep, Lisa Black, was also on the call, and we got an update from an infectious disease specialist from Johns Hopkins University, and they feel it's going to be a 3-week curve to peaking and 3 weeks coming down. And it looks like in our region here, which was hit hard, New York, Rhode Island, New Jersey, that we're starting to go down on that peak. And we see it from the numbers, the positivity rate numbers the last couple of days. So we need to be hopeful. And as leaders, we've got to communicate that to our residents, to be hopeful that we will get back to doing things in a traditional way. It may be a little bit different, but nothing's going to stop. The world's not going to stop. You know, we're very resourceful and committed to making sure that life goes on, and we're there to deliver the services. A little bit more challenging to do it, but we're committed to doing it. And as far as our businesses are concerned, Joe, thanks for your kind words about my tenacity with our business community, but it's in my DNA. I owned a business for many, many years, and I know what it's like. You own a business, you're probably the last one to get paid, if you get paid. But that recognition of the struggles of business has really helped us here in the town. We were able to, you know, as everyone, the HIA too, recognize the fact that we all suffered lost revenue, our businesses, municipalities. We certainly had a tremendous loss in revenue. And because of that, through the federal government, got some ARPA funding. And the Treasury Department has finally released the final guidelines, and they go into effect April 1st. But we're very seriously looking at how we can assist our businesses with some of that lost revenue that they had. So again, committed to coming through it. We will come through it. And I personally think that COVID will be with us, you know, probably forever, like the flu is. You've got the flu season's upon us, get your flu shot. Well, I think that's going to be the case with COVID too. But we've got the tools to get us through it, and we will survive and we will thrive.
Excellent. I want to stick with you, Angie, and we'll go in reverse order. I want to talk a little bit about a controversial issue, and that's cannabis, right? So the legalization of cannabis, the implementation of it within the towns, economic hardship. So how have you and your town board approached cannabis, and where do you see that going in the future of Long Island?
Well, we were probably the first town on Long Island to opt out of the marijuana legislation. I felt very strongly, and my town board supported me, and we were unified in this issue, that there was too much unknown. We had the drug recovery community advocating against it. There were some advocating for opting in, but the way the legislation was structured, if you did not opt out by the end of 21, you were in it forever. You can always opt in. So I felt that the judicious approach was opt out And let's see, they hadn't even appointed a cannabis board, a cannabis czar. The regulations were not in place. I don't know that they really are yet. So we opted out. As far as lost revenue, we weren't counting on that revenue. We didn't know that there was going to be an opportunity for that revenue. So I can't say it's lost revenue. It would have been new revenue. So we will look at that going down the road, and it'll give us time if and when we decide it is a practical, appropriate thing for us to do in our town, perhaps with the appropriate zoning in place. But to have retail establishments in our downtowns at this point, to have lounges, it doesn't send the right message as far as I'm concerned. We had a 17-year-old young woman come and stand before the town board who was battling. She's in recovery. And she stood there and she admitted that, marijuana was what got her started, on the road to drug use and abuse, and is struggling now to get past it, and urged us to please not adopt it. So, I think that we made the right decision, and I, salute those that, stood there with us. And I'm sorry for some of the towns that were not able to muster the support. I know that a couple of the supervisors did not want to opt in, but did not have the support that they needed to move forward. So that's our read on that.
Yep. Ed, I'll turn to you for your take, and maybe you can just explain so our viewers understand the decisions that towns had, what opt out and opt in means as well.
Sure. Well, as Angie said, we encountered much of the same. You had until the end of this year to opt in if you did, or opt out. If you did not make a decision, you will automatically opt in to the retail sale of marijuana in the municipality. So like Angie did in Islip, I had unanimous support on the town board after listening to many, many residents and some experts as well, to opt out, basically for the same reasons. We didn't see what the regulations and what kind of control was going to come out from the state. They approved the bill, but never rolled out how it was going to be implemented. So we wanted to take a wait and see approach. So we decided, again, unanimously to opt out, with the caveat that we can always opt back in after we see how this is rolled out. One of our councilmen who I believe is on this Zoom meeting, Councilman Lohman, comes from an extensive background in law enforcement. And he had a lot to say and a lot of input when we had town board discussions and public hearings on this issue. So again, with the revenue stream, it was really an unknown. There was no possible way to know how much revenue would come in. I think the judicial approach would be, as Angie and I and some other supervisors were fortunate enough to have support on our boards, was to opt out and then wait and see how the cannabis board is established, what kind of rules and regulations come down before we take a measure of starting to rezone or locate retail establishments in our downtown business districts. And that's how we approached it.
Great. Thanks, Ed. Senator, I want to turn to you, Mary. I know you've been very vocal and supportive of the construction community and the unique dangers that you feel cannabis has in that industry. Can you talk a little bit about your position there as well?
Yeah, I'm very, very upset about this because I work very, very hard with the United Association of Plumbers and Pipe Fitters, that we have a zero tolerance for drugs. We have drug testing and everything like that. So when this came to vote, I was very vocal. I went on the floor. I debated the bill with Senator Kruger, and to explain to her what I have done with our members, especially construction workers, going and smoking cannabis, and going back to work. And there they are working with power tools. And it's a huge liability for my contractors, and not just for the workers. So when I explained that to Senator Kruger, and I said, so what are you going to do when these people get fired because they came stoned back to work and they could harm the workforce? And I said, will they be able to collect unemployment? I couldn't get an answer out of that. But it's not even just that. Our police officers cannot detect. They have no way of detecting marijuana use, driving, hurting people, harmful to our society. So, I have family members, and I don't want to get into it because I get myself emotional, that is still struggling because this was a gateway to drugs from marijuana use. My nephew, I can say it because you know what? It's dear to my heart. There he was. We were making sure, we educate our children about drug abuse. There it is. My nephew goes up to school, up to college. There started with steroids to marijuana, to lace marijuana, to Adderall, to cocaine, and then to acid. And I have a nephew right now. We are doing whatever we have to do. He's 22 years old to get him motivated and for him to get back into his life. And it's been very difficult. And you know what? When we have situations like this, that where 25% of the revenue is going to go to drug rehab facilities, is this what we're about? How is that not contradicting anything, of the law? 25% of the revenue will be going to drug rehab facilities. People like Anthony Rizzuto from Seafield, that's the people that should have been brought to the table. Anthony will tell you straight out that his drug situation started from marijuana use. Then he wanted a different high. And then, you know what? And he educates. Those are the people that we needed to bring forward to show this. But you know what? I'm in the minority. I did my fighting with this. And again, I am a bipartisan person. I deal with, again, I say this, Republicans, Democrats. This is our lives. These are our families' futures. There's a lot going on with children. Look what just happened with COVID. Everything's going, our lives are upside down. And then we go and put this forward. This is ridiculous. This is totally unacceptable. I will never be for it. I want to commend Supervisor Angie Carpenter and Supervisor Wareheim and Chad Lupinacci. Obviously, now we have our new supervisor, Ed Smith, for making sure they opted out. You know what? We had discussions on this. I was against it right from the beginning. Am I passionate about it? Yes, because I work very, very hard to make sure that our workforce is drug-free. And all this is a gateway to more drugs. Going up to Albany. And you know what's weird about this whole thing? And please, you're going to think I'm Bill Clinton, that I never smoked pot, but I didn't. So I don't want to get into this. But my point is that there I am up in a hotel up in Albany. I had to leave my room because there they are. That smell is disgusting. I just don't know where that came from because it's supposed to be more potent. And there they are. They're smoking in the hotels. They're smoking outside in the streets. They're smoking in our parks. I'm driving home from Albany. I have my window open, and the truck driver, and they're smoking in their cars. And you smell it. It's just crazy that we are allowing this. And you know what? Again, I will always be an advocate against drugs and to make sure that we're moving forward. If anything ever happens, I will definitely be repealing this. So I don't know how much more I could say about this, but I am totally against it. And I just want to say thank you very much to our supervisors that did opt out. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mario. Mike, something I hope you can help us is understanding sort of the legislative process of this whole bill that passed, right? And how New York got into this in the first place, and then sort of what your perspective is on it.
Well, Joe, my thoughts on this are these. The legalization of marijuana, and you can couple it with the legalization and expansion of gambling. In fact, sports gambling was just legalized as well. And I would point everyone toward today's editorial in Newsday and the concerns they're raising about the expansion of gambling. But this goes back to the failure of elected officials at every level of government to rein in rising costs, particularly compensation costs, salaries, and benefits. That required the need to look for additional revenue because raising taxes is problematic. I can go back, and I wish Steve was still on the call with us, but I can go back to a delegation meeting we had with our county executive, and we've had them every year with every county executive. But I asked Steve point blank, I said, Steve, what can we do up here to help you and your fellow county executives hold the line on taxes? And he said point blank, he said, fix binding arbitration. That's one issue that is, pushing up not only costs, but eventually taxes. So government now is scrambling for additional revenue. And with the rise of the progressive wing in the Democratic Party, which controls both houses, and Governor Cuomo at the time went along with it, the argument was made because of the disparate impact on minority communities of enforcement of the drug laws. And yes, the Rockefeller drug laws were very harsh and should have been modified, but it went, I think, too far in the extreme. There was a thought that now we can get revenue and make revenue from this. Back in the summer, I was in California visiting family, and I'm reading the San Francisco Chronicle, and a front page story talks about how legitimate cannabis dealers in California, and I saw them all over the place out there, are coming hat in hand to the state government there because they can't make money. Why? Because the black market is still thriving, whether the taxes are too high, but principally it's the taxes that they're levying on this product thinking they were going to have a windfall are just not panning out. And I fear the same thing is going to happen here. In fact, frankly, I hope it does. I want this program to fail because cannabis, in my view, is a gateway drug. I lost a cousin to drug abuse, and it all started with marijuana. So, and I'm sure many people in our audience can tell similar stories. So this is a failure of government. It's weakness on the part of elected officials to stand up to certain interest groups to say, no, we are not going to increase our costs beyond what we can afford, and now scramble for revenue because we don't want to raise taxes. So I think you need pension reform, you need reform of binding arbitration, among other things, to rein this in so that we don't have to put these uses in our community. Read that editorial in Newsday today, and you see parents now have something else to worry about because their children will have access to sports gambling on their cell phones. I don't think Jake's 58 makes Suffolk County a better place to live, and that's in my district. And there's behavior going on there that we've read about, and probably behavior we haven't read about that goes on up there, but the revenue is just too tempting to live without. But let me ask everyone in the audience this question. With all of that revenue coming in from Jake's 58, have you noticed a reduction in your county property taxes? The answer is no.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Let's shift a little bit. I'll stick with you, Mike, and we'll go around. But 2022, I can't believe we're in 2022. It's surreal that we're here, but here we are. What are your legislative priorities for 2022? What would you like to try and accomplish this year?
Well, I'm certainly supportive of Governor Hochul's effort to reduce taxes. I think we need to go farther than what she's proposing. I'd like to see things, tax cuts go deeper. I'd like to see government reined in. But first and foremost, I think we need reform of the bail reform legislation that was passed. Unfortunately, Joe, the district attorneys, the judiciary, and law enforcement were completely excluded from the drafting of that legislation. And that ended up costing Todd Kaminsky his seat in the Senate, and it cost Laura Curran her job as county executive. And it cost Tim Sinney his job because he supported it initially, and also it cost Kaminsky a job as district attorney as well. People take public safety seriously in their own personal lives, and I think the business community is concerned about personal safety as well. we have a problem with this, what's called this progressive district attorney movement funded by George Soros and others on the extreme left wing that are turning many of our cities that unfortunately, happen to be blue into dangerous places to live. And Governor Hochul and newly elected Mayor Adams want to turn things around in New York City. Well, they have a dead weight, chained to their ankle in the new district attorney in Manhattan. It is going to be interesting to see how effective they are when they have to deal with a district attorney who does not share their goal of keeping New York City safe. This is going to be a problem, and we all here on Long Island and in the metropolitan area live in the shadow of New York City. And if New York City doesn't get better and doesn't become a more hospitable place to live and do business, it's going to affect Long Island, Westchester, et cetera. So I think reforming bail, getting bail reform modified to give discretion back to the judiciary to keep the dangerous criminals and people who are a problem off the streets. If that doesn't happen, I think November is going to be very successful for my side of the aisle.
Thanks, Mike. A ray of hope, certainly in New York City, is their new police commissioner, Keyshawn Sewell. I did my Energia class training with her, and she's the real deal. I think that there's a lot of optimism that I have in her leading that police department for sure. And let's see, because we out here need New York City to thrive. We need New York City to thrive. We have to vote and cheer for that city to thrive. So their recovery is critical. Senator Matera, your legislative priorities for this year.
So, I am an infrastructure guy. And like I said, I'm going to commend our County Executive Steve Malone and Peter Scully and their vision for sewering Suffolk County. And one thing that was important, that there was a vote, and I'm going to commend our great supervisor of Smithtown. So, just to give everybody a heads up, I have piece of Huntington, all of Smithtown, and a nice piece of Brookhaven. And my goal is to make sure that, our infrastructure is going to be put into place, because we are definitely behind the times. When I was appointed on Suffolk County Water Authority, I was very, very proud of that, to be on that board to protect our precious water supply. And I know we got on the line, our legislators that, it was unanimous that I was put on that board, and I thank them so much. And I want to reach out to our new presiding officer, Kevin McCaffrey. I'm so proud of him. Not just being a visionary, but being a labor leader and caring about the hard work of men and women of labor. But my goal is to make sure that the money that we send up to Albany is going to be coming back to Long Island and our second Senate district, because again, we're finally getting into the 21st century with the vision that we have with our supervisor and council people that are on Smithtown. There was a vote that when this happened, there was a referendum that the county and with the town of Smithtown felt it was the right thing to do, to put a referendum out to the public for sewering Kings Park, because that 20 million that the state back in 2017 with Senator Flanagan and the county executive pushing for sewer money, 20 million for Kings Park and 20 million for Smithtown is in jeopardy. So we are trying to, move forward with sewering, me being newly elected official, working with Mike Fitzpatrick also, because he cares about sewering and protecting our water supply and guess what, to develop properly. So the referendum goes out with Kingswood Development, and the vote went 104-1. We went out as elected officials. We engaged with the community to make sure they were comfortable and they understood. And that went so far 104-1. And I'm so proud of that. And I'm so proud that it's going to hopefully move forward with certain things. We do have a little obstacle that I am not going to talk about, but that I'm hoping that's not going to be an obstacle. But you know what? That's so important to me, is making sure that the infrastructure is put in place. I worked over the years in Suffolk County with other towns. I worked, working with even with great developers like Tritech and, DNF and Development, working with, Vision Long Island, and sitting there and looking at like towns like Patchogue Village. We could talk about that all day long with the vision of Mayor Pontieri. He made sure that the infrastructure was put in place. So guess what? And do the proper development. And look at Patchogue Village. You wouldn't have been there 10 years ago. The only thing I knew that everybody went to Patchogue Village was to go buy wedding shoes at the wedding store over there, but or maybe you went to Blum's for a bathing suit, but otherwise you didn't go there. Now you go there, and you know what? You go to the restaurants. My kids go to Patchogue Village. I want that in our town. There's no reason why. And I'm so proud. The first order of business that our supervisor, when he was elected 4 years ago, he sat down, Ed Wareheim, and got $2.4 million for the water main. And then we sat there and we said, we need to get that sewer main put in the ground. And he listened. And yes, we do have a problem. $3.9 million is sitting up in Albany. And Mike Fitzpatrick and I, we are going and fighting every day to get $3.9 million in the scheme of things. That's the only bad thing about government that I'm not used to. But guess what? I am the type of person, consistent and persistent. But you know what? To make sure that money is going to come back to our town. But you know what? We're putting the infrastructure in. And I'm very, very proud that we care about our precious water supply, like I said again, and we care about the proper development. The other problem that we have that I'm working on is 2024 with the garbage situation with Brookhaven landfill. We have towns, in other words, the ash goes to Brookhaven landfill, 2024. We have to stop kicking the can down the road. I'm working right now. We got to make sure that right now the solution is with Winter Brothers project that they have right across the street, 220 something acres. And it is a transfer station, there's rail. And we need to rail out our garbage right now till we come up with a solution. But 2024, everybody that's listening is right around the corner. We don't know what we're going to be doing with our garbage situation. So that's another thing that we're working on to make sure that that's going to happen, that our garbage will be railed off to go, believe it or not, Pennsylvania and to Ohio. So, this is important to me. It's important that our innovation park is going to grow. I worked with our county executive that time to make sure that we had that sewer expansion. That's so important that now we could go up with second stories in our innovation park we need to be number one. We don't need to be number two, with the largest parks in the whole country. So I look at that park as, guess what? Self-sufficient, self-reliant. Guess what? These test kits, there's no reason why we didn't make all these test kits. And I'm asking HIA, whatever we could do to be vocal to attract businesses. There's no reason why these test kits are coming from China. This is ridiculous. Right now we have cargo ships that is sitting out that are unloaded. Inflation is going crazy. And we have all these cargo ships sitting out in the harbors that aren't getting unloaded. And guess what's happening to us? We're not self-sufficient. We need to be self-sufficient here. We need to manufacture here. So this way we don't have this situation that now look what it's going to cost the residents and our communities, how much this is going to cost us for the future. So again, I spoke last time at the HIA about look at the computer chips. Look what's happening with our car situation. The computer chips in the cars. Cars aren't being manufactured, and guess what's happening right now? We're in serious trouble even with the car production. So guess what? The used cars are doing well, but my wife works for Enterprise Car Rental, and it's just ridiculous. So my goal again is to make sure that we are going to go and like an HIA to make sure we keep our talent here too. We do not want people to move off of Long Island or New York State. We are declining in numbers. Florida surpassed us. They have like 22 million people. We're going down. I think we're into 18 million. We're in the 18 million range. And that's ridiculous. We're losing numbers by the growth. We do not need our talent to move to other states. So we really need to be a voice. We need to really work on this. And again, our infrastructure is very, very important to me. And that's what I'm going to be looking forward to be working with our supervisors in my district.
Great, thanks, Mary. I love that you keep it real. It all comes down to sewers and garbage, right? That's what it comes down to. Anybody thinks that politics is glamorous? That's what it all boils down to. Ed, I'll turn to you. You're here. And you're ready to go for 2022. What do we have in store in the town of Smithtown this year?
Okay, so we are anxious to get back to work. Just completed our election, so we're good for 4 more years, which I'm very, very honored to be able to serve the Smithtown residents. As our dear friend Senator Matera espoused, I think one of the issues you do not hear much about, we talk about it internally, and I know Supervisor Carpenter is deeply involved in this as well, is the solid waste crisis that is right around the corner. That's one of our initiatives we have to work diligently on. We believe it's a regional issue. This is not something that local government is going to cure. We need all agencies, federal, state, county, and local, to really take a hard look at what we're going to do once the Brookhaven landfill closes. Here in Smithtown, we are working on, there are only 2 avenues, as Mario explained. You're either going to truck solid waste off the island or rail it. I'm a proponent of rail. He talked about the Brookhaven project with Winter Brothers, and we have a 52-acre site right here in Kings Park, right adjacent to rail, and we're working with the property owner and the Long Island Railroad to look at the feasibility of him doing a multi-million-dollar improvement to his property and bringing in rail spurs so we could work on solid waste right here in our own town. So very, very important issue. Another issue that's we've been working on this last term, and we will dig right into it in our next 4 years, certainly our efforts for continued economic growth. Job one, as you know, is our partnership with the Innovation Park and the HIA. When I came into office, I immediately worked on partnering with the HIA. I don't think prior to my administration, there was much of a partnership there. We're going to continue to put forward funding to do work in that park and work closely to effectuate the zone change that we put in place, the 13 sites, 7 acres plus for mixed use development. We are working as we speak with the county on sewer capacity so that we can bring those properties to fruition. And we know in the future that's going to be very, very important. That will give us the avenue, as we've been discussing for the last probably 3 years, how we have housing for workforce to be able to come, stay, live, and stay here right here on Long Island. And we know how important that is. Another one of our initiatives that we put forth was our recreation facilities here in Smithtown. In the last 3.5 years, we've put $34 million worth of capital improvement money into our parks, beaches, marinas, and we are going to continue the next 4 years to do the very same thing. Why is that important to us? It's a very important issue because it really is what brings folks to the town of Smithtown. It's a quality of life issue. That's why they buy their homes here. That's why they want to settle here. And we have a very good reputation for our rec facilities, and we want to keep that reputation as well. So we're going to be funding and doing a lot of work, has already been planned for our rec facilities, Landing Country Club, golf and swimming complex. We will continue those initiatives. And probably the fourth major issue that we're going to work on is environmental issues, which we feel are very important. Go back to what Mario talked about, working with Mario and Michael. And I want to just take a moment to give a shout out, County Executive Balone and Peter Scully. We took the initiative to put the sewer main and infrastructure in St. James. We're working with Mr. Scully to look at alternative routes where we can begin to sewer St. James. As Mario explained, the public referendum was voted on. We are very close to letting bids for the Kings Park project. There will be it will be a huge advantage to the Kings Park community once those sewers are installed. I am confident that we will have that work done. It's due to be completed in 2025 and start this year. So very, very pleased about that. County Executive Balone has also continued to fund some streetscape funding, which we will put in place. And we're looking at a small parcel in the former new psychiatric center in Kings Park for a parcel of land to allow us to expand sewer District 6, which will in turn allow us to install sewers in the Smithtown Business District. When that is completed, and I am very optimistic that it will, we will have all 3 business districts sewered. Great advantage for now economic growth in those business districts. We have a railroad station in all 3 business districts. So we are positioned really, really well going into the future. Environmentally, we're working with solar. We're, as we speak, putting solar arrays on our Landing Country Club. We have a wind power generator at the multiple service facility. And we just completed last year the headwaters of the Nessaquag River. I kid about it, but I think I'm the first supervisor that ever bought a topless establishment, but we did buy it. We are going to raise that building, and that is on the headwaters of the Nessaquag. And we're going to initiate a trade in parks with County Executive Blown. He's going to get a town park on 347 adjacent to his park, County Park, Blydenburg. And we are going to take possession of the park across from the Smithtown Bowl and open that entire area up so that the headwaters of the Nessaquag is visible. And that's a huge environmental issue that we're working on. And we think that's going to be a great advantage, not only aesthetically, but environmentally. So we have an aggressive platform. We are ready to go and energized, and we're going to get to work on it.
Thanks, Ed. I mean, people of Smithtown are so lucky to have you and your team for another 4 years. Although I never had a doubt you'd be remaining in that seat, but congratulations on that as well.
Thank you.
Supervisor Carpenter, what do you see for the town of Islip this year?
Well, there really is a lot on the horizon. Obviously, COVID is still front and center, continuing our commitment to deliver services despite that. We've been very aggressive in testing our employees and, encouraging very, very safe work environment for everyone and for the public. We just recently extended the outdoor dining permits through the year so that restaurants could plan ahead and know that the relaxation of some of those rules and regulations will still be in place. We also, despite COVID, we were able to open up a brand new animal shelter in the town of Islip after 50 plus years of one that was existing and certainly in need of more than a little TLC. This past fall, we opened a brand new animal shelter. In fact, we just kicked off the town's endorsement and participation in the Betty White Challenge. So that's kind of exciting. We also, too, are very committed to our infrastructure and capital projects. In the last 6 years that I've been here, we've tripled the paving budget. There were roads that hadn't been paved in years, and we are systematically going across the town, doing the ones that need it most, that are in the worst shape, very, very careful about doing it very, very equitably. We also, too, we've got over 100 parks, a couple of regional parks and a lot of pocket parks, but we too have been committed to increasing the aesthetics and replacing a lot of outdated equipment. The biggest project to date was the completion of Roberto Clemente Park. That was really a blight on the town with the dumping scandal that took place before I got here. But we have finally resolved everything that was there. There were 40,000 tons of debris dumped in that park. We oversaw the removal of it. The pool that had been closed and shuttered for many years before, not only was it redone and reopened, it is absolutely beautiful. It's like a country club there. There are these sail shade shelters and lounge chairs around the perimeter of the pool. A brand new spray park. We got funding through the state, through Assemblyman Ramos, to build a state-of-the-art, gorgeous spray park that was delayed in opening because of COVID, but we were able to open it last summer. There are plans in place. We're probably going to be able to open it this summer, and that's a skateboard park. That'll be the first town skateboard facility in the town of Islip. We are working on a turf field in Central Islip right now, trying to do some turf fields across the town. Of course, the airport is front and center, and I have to thank the HIA. They were so helpful in coming up with a survey. And I know Terry made reference to it earlier, 504 people responded to that survey. And, you know, you talk about a survey, like, what does that really mean and do? It was so important because at the airport, as we are trying to attract new airlines, to attract new routes, it's not like years ago where you could go to an airline and say, oh, we have an airport, we'd like you to come start flying to Kansas City. And they go, oh, okay, fine, we'll be there. They want data. They want to see that this is going to be successful. They want to see that the community supports it. So that survey was key. When we sat with the people from Breeze, and I could literally put that survey on the table and say, look, in just a very short matter of time, the second largest industrial park in the country is, you know, a stone's throw from the airport. And when they polled their members, this is what they want, so that we were able to quantify that. And that made a big difference. So if anyone out there listening hasn't heard, we are going to be commencing new service from Islip Airport, nonstop service to Charleston, South Carolina, and Norfolk, Virginia. And these are two destinations that are going to be serviced by Breeze Airways. Now, Breeze is a brand new airline. They've been flying since last summer. The founder is the co-founder of JetBlue, David Nealman. So this is a person that's, you know, still has a couple of airlines working and functioning and has been very, very successful. So we're very excited about the fact that after much research, when they were looking for a New York area airport, that they didn't go to JFK, they didn't go to LaGuardia, they didn't go to Westchester or Stewart, they chose to come to Islip. So this really says a lot for the region as a whole, our close proximity to New York City, the fact that the Ronkonkoma Railroad is, you know, minutes away from the airport. And that's another initiative that we're committed to and working on, and that is the relocation of the terminal to the north side so that it is adjacent to the railroad and everything that, you know, the state and our legislators have been committed to with the third track. That all of that comes together when you're talking to these airlines and encouraging them to come to your airport or expand service at your airport. Southwest Airlines this past summer added nonstop service to Nashville. That's another exciting weekend destination. That particular route, when they added that destination, Nashville, to many of their airports across the country, we were an overperformer in bookings. And likewise with Breeze and Charleston and Norfolk, the bookings are coming in just far ahead of expectations. So we're very excited that Breeze in particular is going to be looking at expanding service going forward. When David Nealman came here and we had that press conference announcing the service, he was not shy about saying that. So February 17th, he'll be back here. There's going to be, you know, a dinner with some business leaders, and I hope to see some of you there, encouraging, letting him see that we do have that broad-based support of the business community in particular. So, you know, again, it's just so exciting for us here in the town. GRI, congratulations to Riverhead and Amityville. Now the real work is going to begin, because working with the state and the Office of the Secretary of State and going through all of the things that you have to go through to get to the end game can be a little cumbersome at times, but we're working through it. And likewise, the county has been a really good partner, because part of the $10 million that we were able to get for the revitalization of that corridor in Central Islip from Suffolk Avenue south to Smith Avenue includes hookup to the sewer. And that's going to change the whole dynamics of that area. So you will be able to have restaurants. I see it as a potential ethnic restaurant destination where you're going to have Cuban and Dominican and, you know, Indian and a steakhouse and all kinds of great opportunities to come to that region. And there's an excitement about CI now. Steel Equities purchased 83 acres from New York Tech, and they're converting that to a residential 300 plus apartments, high end. But the exciting part of that is they're reusing every single building that was on the campus. 14 buildings are going to be retrofitted and reused, and they're building a state-of-the-art clubhouse and athletic complex there too, amongst many other amenities. We have the 2 brand new hotels there, the 2 courthouses, Duck Stadium, Toro School of Health Sciences moved to the law school campus, and they're building a brand new office building, and the plans in the future are that there'll be housing on campus there. So really, there's just so much happening downtown Bayshore. Tri-Tech has broken ground on a classic textbook example of transit-oriented development on 10 acres where Toro School of Health Sciences is going to be an apartment complex in the downtown, across the street from a railroad, steps from the downtown area, bus transportation right there along Union Boulevard, classic transit-oriented development. So, and many other, apartments that are coming on board, the kind of vibe that young people want. Mario spoke about his kids going to Patchogue. They're not going to have to go to Patchogue anymore. They're coming to Bayshore, they're going to be going to CI. They're coming to the town of Islip, and then they're going to realize, wow, at that airport, we're going to book a trip and go to Nashville or Charleston. It's an exciting time for the town, but really an exciting time for the region. And our partnership with the LIA has really helped get us to where we are. So thank you.
Thanks, Angie. And Supervisor Carpenter's being a little modest about her efforts and her team's efforts to get Breeze Airways here. I mean, David Nealman is known as the Elon Musk of the airline industry. He's a rock star, and every region in the country wanted him to pick them. And he made it very, very clear at the press conference when he discussed why he selected, that it was because of Angie's leadership and her team's leadership at the airport, that he felt comfortable making the investment here. But I will tell you, the business community, that now it's time for us to step up, right? Angie and her team did their job getting them here. Now we got to use it, because if we don't use it, we're going to lose it. And then we're going to cry that MacArthur's underutilized when we have this golden opportunity right here in our hands to revitalize it. So Angie, thank you to you and Shelley and Rob and the rest of your team and your town board for delivering this incredible opportunity for us. Now we have to put our money where our mouths are and utilize it for sure.
Joe, I have to tell you something, and people should know this. Things like this don't happen overnight. This literally was 4 years in the making. And when we first were introduced to David and his team, it was just an idea, the airline. It hadn't begun. And Islip MacArthur Airport is the birthplace of Breeze Airways, because in Hangar 1, that was the initial engagement we had with them. They rented Hangar 1. That is where they did their training. That's where they did their proving runs. They got their certification there. So we had that little bit of an advantage, and they were not picking a New York airport right away. And, you just wanted to say, pick me. But again, that survey was very, very helpful. And ultimately, they did make the right choice, not only for our region, but for them as an airline. I think they're going to be very, very successful.
Yeah, truly great stuff. I want to end my portion of the questions with our 2 state representatives. And, on the state level, and Mary, I'll start with you and then we'll go to Mike. What are some of the bills up in Albany right now that we as business people should be aware of, good or bad, so that we can be aware and educated of what's up there right now and what we should support or be against?
I should have let Mike go first, but There's that's a bill that's out, there's a couple of them that I'm concerned about, that the 55-cent gas tax on top of all gas, oil, and obviously our natural gas. There's a bill out that right now I'm very, very concerned about. That will hurt all of us, especially, again, what's happening right now with inflation, what's happening with everything costs. Look what's happened in this last year with even our gas prices. So this is a bill that I know our conference is totally dead against, and we're going to be fighting that. The other bill that's out that I'm concerned about is our natural gas. I am an advocate for keeping our, I am for renewable energy. I will be always somebody that's an advocate, but right now it's not perfected. So our natural gas supply is critical right now. Not having that Nessie pipeline come in, the Williamsburg pipeline come in, Governor Cuomo was working with the environmentalists to knock it down, was devastating to our region. Right now, if we have a load capacity because of a bad winter, or right now the capacity of building, we are trucking in frozen natural gas, believe it or not. So now there we are contradicting again, that there it is, being frozen natural gas is being trucked in with what? Trucks that are ran on diesel fuel. And how is that not harming our environment? So this is serious. Our natural gas is our cleanest burning fuel for fossil fuel. It's very, not that's because plumbers put it in, because that means jobs. Again, my for renewable energy till it's perfected, yes, and that's going to take decades before that will be perfected, and we could run, and everybody have an electric car also too. So these are two serious problems that I look at. Do I feel, especially with our law enforcement, everything happening with our bail reforms, as Assemblyman Fitzpatrick said earlier, very, very serious that we are on top of this, because there are so many crimes that the media is not acknowledging what's happening right now with all the crimes that are happening with this bail reform. It needs to be repealed. So this is serious. I am very, very concerned about that also. But again, these two bills that are out, I'm going to be fighting, especially the Kavanaugh bill with the natural gas. Right now, 2023, any new construction, residential or commercial, cannot in New York State have natural gas as a fuel supply. That will be devastating, and something that we're working on right now, not just with the New York State pipe trades, but all kinds of organizations that are concerned about this, that I have to do whatever I have to do to kill that bill moving forward. So I think it's going to harm any new development and any new construction in the future, because just think about something, even cooking. You couldn't even think about something. You can't even have gas for cooking inside a residential or a commercial building. How are restaurants supposed to survive without having natural gas? So that's really very important to me, Joe, for our future and for future development here on Long Island. Again, I'm very, very proud of what's happening with Long Island with our growth. I think we're doing very, very well with that because of great leadership. Yes, we're putting the infrastructure forward. I always talk about with Nassau County, how, yes, it's been sewered, but we need to make sure that any sewage treatment plants that are moving forward are going to be built, and it's going to be replenishing our precious aquifer and not have the same situation as Nassau County, where right now they're in trouble right now with that. So again, this is important to me. These are two very, very important bills that I need to be working on.
Thank you. Michael?
Yeah, thank you, Joe. There are a few bills. One, as Maria mentioned, this mandate of no natural gas hookups that is proposed by Assemblymember Gallagher, one of the new progressive socialists in the Assembly, and Senator Kavanaugh, who is a very progressive guy and a dear friend of mine, but he's also being challenged in a primary by one of these new young socialists from the AOC crowd. So this progressive takeover of the Democratic Party is very concerning. The other is they'll try again. It'll probably pass the Assembly and may in fact pass the Senate as well. And that's the New York Health Act, which is socialized medicine. Governor Hochul, I hope, is not going to consider that. That would be, I think, extremely detrimental. But Assemblymember Gottfried, who is retiring after 52 years in the Assembly, there'll be a lot of pressure to try and get this for him as a feather in his cap on his way out of the Assembly. The other bill I think is interesting. We talked about the solid waste issue. There is legislation proposed that would levy a fee on producers of packaging, and it has the support of the Johnson Company, SC Johnson Wax, to those of us with gray hair, producer of a lot of consumer products. Reflexively, you'd like to say as a conservative, I wouldn't support something like that. But given my past experience at the town level dealing with solid waste, this is a more serious problem than the average person realizes. The average citizen, puts their trash can at the corner and just watches it disappear, but really doesn't understand or know where it goes and how it's processed. We are going to have to try and reduce our volume of consumer solid waste. Back in the early 90s, Supervisor Vecchio sent me, the town engineer and the town controller, to Tulsa, Oklahoma, to study what was known as the Tulsa Plan for commercial solid waste. And we transitioned to a volume-based system to reduce the volume of cardboard and solid waste on the commercial side. I foresee an effort to do this on the consumer side as well, because the transport cost, if we don't get that rail project done, but frankly, even if we do, even sending it by rail is not going to be cheap, but it would be cheaper than trucking it off Long Island. But the ability to reduce the volume of commercial consumer solid waste is going to become more important in the future. And I think the consumer can lead that effort. If you look at, if you go into the supermarket today and look at some of the products that you consume, food products, you'll see this non-GMO label. Well, there was legislation years ago by progressives to mandate labeling on food products if they had GMO, genetically modified organisms, in their ingredients. And that led to the consumers pushed hard to have that, or at least know what's in their food, and business responded very aggressively. So now pick up any food product and you'll see, it's non-GMO as a selling point. I think the consumer can lead a similar effort to reduce the volume of solid waste on the consumer side. But we all have to remember it's not going to be easy because, yes, I think there is an overabundance of packaging in a lot of the products we buy. But remember, there's someone supporting their family at a job producing that packaging as well. So, but I think that is an issue we're going to be seeing a lot more attention paid to going forward.
Great, thanks. What I want to do now, before Terry closes us out, is give you guys an opportunity to just briefly close out with a closing remark, maybe something you wanted to say you didn't get a chance to say. But briefly, Mike, I'll start with you, and we'll end with Madam Supervisor going around. But if you just want to give your closing remarks, Mike, that would be great.
Yeah, great, Joe. Thank you, Terry, Joe, everybody. We're losing jobs, we're losing people. We had the largest outmigration of any state in the country. California, I think, was second. We've got to reduce the cost of doing business in New York State and reduce the cost of living. We also, I think, something I'd like to say too, I was at a conference of state legislators out in California back in December, and I was amazed at how many states are using choice in education as a recruiting tool for companies to come to their state. If you're thinking of relocating, we offer choice in education for your children And it is a very attractive recruiting tool in these other states. And I think over time, down the road, I was very happy to see 2 new charter schools open in communities that desperately want them. And we have thousands of families on waiting lists to get charter schools. We need to, I believe, change the model of public education going forward, and give people choice, have the money follow the student and not go to these government-run, union-controlled school districts that are not educating our children sufficiently to compete in the 21st century economy. There's too much politics in the curriculum. That has to stop. And I think choice in education is one way to combat that. And I think it'll improve outcomes. It'll improve opportunity for all of our students. And other states are using choice in education as a recruiting tool. And I think New York State down the road is going to have to, I think I would love to see New York institute that as well. Anything's possible. Thank you, Joe.
Thanks, Mike. Senator?
I want to thank everybody again, obviously with Terry and Rich and Joe, everybody on the call and everybody on the panel that I respect very, very much. As a newly elected official, this has been an experience that when I go home and I speak to my wife, I wake up every day and I go, I can't believe that I'm here, and the people have trust in me. And one thing about trust is everything to me, and our families are everything. Without family, we don't have anything. So I look at everybody in my district, representing over 300,000, constituents in my district. Everybody's family. The phone calls that you receive, blood, sweat, and tears with this job. But you know what? This listening to people's concerns, it's been very interesting to me. Again, my goal is infrastructure. My goal, I know we talk about, it's not the sexiest topic to talk about sewers, it's not. But when I have a discussion like with our great Rich Human, with H2M, a local great firm that I'm just so proud that I have people that you can make a phone call to, and it just means everything to me. And I just want to thank everybody that's even on this call, from the county executive to the supervisors, and seeing everybody. Terry, you're wonderful. I just know where your heart is. Joe, and it's just been an amazing experience. But again, we're professionals. I sit there and say, you know what? There's politicians that are blowhards, excuse me. And then you have elected officials to get things done. Everybody on this call, they're elected officials in my eyes. And we all have to do our jobs. We have to get back to normalcy. That's my main concern. I want to get this fear factor out of people's minds. And I really, really feel the state really needs to do this, and it can't be political. I am a bipartisan, cross the table type of person. I've always been that way. And you learn it from my.
Mario, you hit mute there by accident.
I'm sorry. As a supervisor, I don't know how I did that. Someone must have did that. I must have got the 3 minute.
Crazy.
I get the 3-minute ring. But again, our supervisor, he's like this. This isn't about somebody's party. This is about getting the job done together. And you know what? This is very important for me to make sure that our workforce has a good wage, a good health care, and a good pension. That's what I fought for. 40 years that I'm a union member and 20 years as a business agent.
You're muted again.
That's doing it by itself. I'm not even touching anything. I'll go like this. So
that's the electronic hook.
Oh, is it really? That's telling me I had enough. But and I'm very proud to be part of the building trades. I got Matty Arich, which is our president. I just want to reach out to him. I know he's on this call, and I thank him for a visionary and sitting there and being a mentor to me. Matty with the building trades representing 65,000 hardworking men and women in construction, because everybody has to remember on this call, construction is the backbone of the economy. And you know what? That's so important to me, that we make sure that we build properly, the right areas, have the right developers, right engineers for our future. And we're going to build a great Suffolk County and a great Long Island. So that is my goal. We got this money that came from the federal government with this infrastructure bill. close to $300 billion. We need our share of that money. And that's something that we're going to be working on with my assemblyman that's on the call to make sure that that money's coming back to Long Island. I've already been in touch with the highway superintendents from Huntington to Smithtown to Brookhaven to make sure, give me your list. Tell me what we need to do so we could be ahead of the curve and we can send it in to get our money. So that's a big goal. Make sure that we're receiving some of that money. I know it's a lot of the state, but you know what, guys, I just want to say thank you so much for having this. I appreciate everything with HIA, what you do. We need to make sure I'm going to be here. Please, we've got to get together. What do we need? What do we need to make sure that we could grow, HIA even larger and make sure that we're not outsourcing to other countries? So that's my goal. I want to work very closely. This is my second year. I'm not going to call myself a freshman senator anymore. Now I'm a veteran senator, I guess. I don't know how you call it after a year, but I just want to say thank you so much for all you do. And let's just keep up the hard work together. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Senator. Supervisor Wareheim.
Yeah, Joe, thank you very much. And Terry and Rich, thank you for inviting us this morning. It's always an honor and a pleasure to join you in your legislative breakfast. I just want to say that most importantly, as we all have spoken about, we need to, regardless of what COVID throws at us, we need to overcome it. And we need to continue down the path of growing economically, especially for all of our townships and all of Long Island. I think it's very important that we do that. And another issue that came up through our discussions this morning was the fact that government officials have to remember that they are public servants first. You need to engage the community, engage your business districts, work across lines with all levels of government. I think what I encounter every day, and my own opinion is, people are tired of division in government. It's become very, very old. We all need to pay attention to what we're doing, work diligently for our constituents, and make sure that we come out on the other end with thriving economic growth for Long Island, thriving businesses, and that our public is made safe and healthy. And I want to wish everybody well, and please stay safe. And thank you again for having us this morning.
Thank you, sir. Supervisor Carpenter, we'll give you the final word.
Okay, so first of all, I want to applaud HIA, obviously, for putting this together and giving us all an opportunity to participate today. But Joe, you said something key before. When you turned to the state delegation and asked them what was going on in Albany, what bills are on the horizon that you as an individual and as part of this wonderful organization should be advocating for or opposing. And I think that is key. Every single one of us, every single person has a role to play. You can't just sit back and turn it over and let everybody else do it and then complain when legislation is passed, like bail reform, which I think we can all agree just didn't help us here on Long Island or anywhere in this state. You don't want to be attacking things when it's too late or after it's already happened. So to be there in the beginning when things are being discussed and bring it forward then to say, hey, wait a minute, this isn't a good idea. I mean, I served as part of a legislative body, and I know what it's like to have an idea and think it's going to be great, but you need someone to say, hey, wait a minute, hold on, that isn't going to work. That isn't going to work when it gets rolled out to the business community. That's another unfunded mandate, whatever the issue is, but you need to be involved in the beginning. And I'm going to reach out to our state legislators, and whether or not that you're, part of your legislative district is in the airport or not, I need your help. We need your help as a region to promote that airport, to help fund initiatives right now, that North Terminal. I desperately need a commitment on the part of the state to help support the relocation of the North Terminal. I was a little disappointed not to hear the governor call out Islip Airport by name and spoke about JFK and LaGuardia You know, we as a region here need this airport to thrive, not just survive. And again, to Eddie's comments about working together, we stand ready to do so. You know, congratulations on your reelection. I have 2 more years till I face the voters again, and I'm very hopeful that I'll have that opportunity to be reelected and continue. There's a lot of projects going that I want to take over the finish line. So again, to everybody out there, especially those on the HIA and those that took the time to participate this morning, we're in this together. And we are, as I just said, we're not going to survive, we are going to thrive.
Great, thank you. And I want to thank everybody, our panelists, all for your service. You know, these are really challenging times. State, local, federal, countries, you know, gone crazy most of the time. But really here on Long Island, we are really a bipartisan public-private partnership community that prides ourselves on getting things done. I mean, here we have a state senator from the most heavily Republican district probably in the country advocating for labor and workers' rights, right? You're not going to see that happen at a federal level without people getting lambasted. And yet all of us are supportive of that initiative because we know what it takes to raise a family here on Long Island in a safe environment, really. And that's what it's all about. And my hat's off to all of you, you know, for your hard work. But Angie's right. We got to fight the fight. You know, I was disappointed that the governor didn't mention Isa MacArthur Airport, and I was disappointed that the governor didn't mention the innovation park. She's been here. She knows the importance of it is to the region, and yet we didn't make the state of the state. And we have to do better at the state level, and we have to fight harder to make sure that we're getting the resources and the recognition that we need. And I feel very, very comfortable and confident that all of you fight the fight every day on behalf of all Long Islanders. And I really want to thank you as a citizen, as a business owner, for all the work that you do. And with that, I'll turn it over to another person who knows how to fight hard for this region, and that is my partner in crime, Terry Maselli.
Thanks, Joe, and thanks everybody. And you know, to mirror what was being said, what great work is being done on Long Island. And you know, not only are we lucky to have you as advocates for us, all of you, but as everybody said, you just roll up your sleeves and get things done. That's what it's about, right? And that's how we get things done. You know, for the audience, in February, we will be highlighting Claire Cusack, and Kevin O'Connor will have a fireside chat with Claire. And Claire Cusack is the first female CEO in over 127 years, I think, Kevin? Yeah. For the New York Bankers Association. So that should be a very interesting discussion on the banking industry, how they've helped us certainly through COVID and what we'll see being changed. In March, we'll be actually at the Long Island MacArthur Airport with Angie and Shelley, and we'll be talking about these projects, and we'll be talking about how we continue to make that airport the airport of choice. And in April, we'll be with Ed Wareheim and Angie again and talk about the Long Island Innovation Park and that project. I bring those up because it's important for all of you to stay involved and stay engaged. We need to hear what's going on, right? And we want to give you updates on those important projects. So everybody, please stay healthy. And yes, to a happy and healthy new year. And we hope to see everybody in February. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great job. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Terry. Thanks, Joe.
Thanks,
Thank you,
guys.
Kevin, Rich.